Hi, can you see me?
Hi, Ruchi. Yes, I can. But let's see if everyone else can. Can you see? Can you see Ruchi? Okay, can't you?
Can you see me or hear me both?
I can see you. I can hear you. Can everyone
Great.
else? Perfect. So, Ruchi, how's it been? How's it going? How's been the lockdown for you?
It's okay. I've been busy as well, doing a lot of things myself with Paru and trying. Also, we've been doing a lot of home deliveries. We're running this farm to table relief fund. So we've been feeding a lot of people, getting farm produce from farmers and then feeding them.
I am not at all surprised because I know all the amazing work that you do, and which is why when the Future Food Institute and the FAO asked me to pick a climate shaper from my community, you were the just the obvious answer for me. So, Ruchi, would you like to introduce yourself and Taru a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I run this organization called Taru Naturals. Taru means tree in Sanskrit. So it's a network of small scale farmers across India. And we basically have a three-pronged business model in which we give training to farmers on climate resilient agriculture, which is natural farming, essentially. So we teach the farmers natural farming, which means that they're using their own resources to make biofertilizers, biopesticides, using indigenous seeds. So we have these trainings with small scale farmers, and then we are an end-to-end value. We are an end-to-end service for small-scale farmers across the value chain, which
That
means
is amazing.
that yes, so training with market intelligence to logistics, accounting service to storage. So all these things, and then the third prong is fair trade marketing. So we basically, mentor all our small scale farmers we work with, from say one or two farmers to taking like an entire aggregated group at the whole point. So the whole agro ecosystem for small scale farmers is what we actually do from end to end, for small scale farmers. So it's been really good. And we have an organic brand called Taru. So we do retail and we supply to restaurants, and we have a home delivery service to our e-commerce, and we do exports as well. So yeah,
Absolutely. Everyone is familiar with Tarun Naturals and their amazing products. We've been
yes.
using your Jaggery and your amazing Kaji Nimu. And obviously, you're such an inspiration for so many of us. And I was not actually aware of the scope of work you did till the time I figured out it was 10,000 tribal and small scale farmers. That is
Yes.
insane. Ruchi, will you tell us what motivated you to start on this journey? What was it uh, that you thought it should be? I mean, what was the missing loop, and where did you think you would fit the link?
So I think as an individual, I started really young. My mom, she's a naturopath doctor, so she's also doing. In fact, we have a food forest at home as well, and she's grown it. So even while we were growing up, we had like our roti wasn't say like white in color. It always had these ancient grains as part of our lifestyle. Even the sugar was always jaggery, or all these things which we are dealing with, like say the kadas, the turmeric latte, all these things. We've grown up eating it as a part of a healthy lifestyle. And even the school I went to was an alternative school. So my environmental science teacher, and all these things as part of my education system, Jiddu Krishnamurti. And then the other thing is that I'm part of the art of living. So I've been doing a lot of meditation and yoga. So that as well has changed my lifestyle in terms of what you put in your mind is how your mind thinks, right? So I would say these three things have been really like a big, driver for me to actually start really thinking about that. The health and the nutrition and the lifestyle thing is really linked. But I used to work as an environmental activist before, and climate change was something which I used to focus on in activism as well in my development sector career. And then each time in all our development projects, we used to go to villages, right? So
Yeah.
I realized that actually the foundation of India, 50% and more is agriculture. And out of that, 70% is small scale farmers. So if you look at the foundation of India, it's basically small scale farmers. And the last one, connectivity from small scale farmers to say an ecosystem connection, which is, and when I talk about ecosystem, it's an entire ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it's about growing, harvesting, logistics, supply chain, markets. That is the ecosystem which I'm talking about. It's
The
just not
entire food
markets.
chain, basically.
Exactly, basically the entire food chain.
Yeah.
So when you talk about climate change, this is what I saw, which was really lacking with small scale farmers. Like very few, I mean, there are many organizations working with the market, but very few organizations working across the value chain, right?
Yeah.
So that is the last mile gap which I saw while working with small scale farmers. And they are the protectors and they are the real conservation heroes, actually, if you go to see. So if we actually make them climate resilient, only then can we talk about a huge population as well as that part of nature which is also protected once you take care of that, that population.
So basically, targeting grassroots to get
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
mass movement is what we are talking
Right.
about to build a
Right.
secure food future.
Right. Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more intrinsically about your work, how you go about it? What is what is
Yeah.
what's a daily work day for you, or what's a regular work day for you pre-COVID?
Yeah. Pre-COVID. Yes. So it's also very related to each product, right? So for example, we are working with a turmeric farmer group in Satara. Now, before we started working with Dr. Sarunke, he's an organic farmer, but he was probably doing say 10, he didn't really have a market. Whereas he's a rock star, like, he does natural farming, all of that, but his community didn't really accept him. Although he's been doing organic farming and natural farming, I would say. Natural farming is something he's doing since 10 years, right? But
Wow.
uh, his community is not really accepted him because he's not getting a good price. Secondly, the supply chain was very disjointed. And thirdly, the quality of the product with the processing, everything didn't really have detailing and attention. So if I had to get this farmer accepted in his community as well as reach a market, I had to figure out how we first help him and then make a group in his area, in his village in Satara. So we started buying a little bit in the start. I used to go like I used to go for many field trips. So I used to wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock, take a state transport bus near my house, and then that takes like 6 hours in that rickety bus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've done a lot of that. And there's joy in doing that as well because when you travel in a rickety state transport bus, you meet all kinds of people
I
and then
think
you achieve.
you are a pillar of community resilience, and I, I wish we can all take something away from this conversation because this is so insightful. The kind of work that you're doing, it's
But it's a normal thing. Most community people anyways do this work. It's not just because I'm selling my products and I run an organization. If you actually go to see, a lot of grassroots people anyways do it and their work doesn't get highlighted.
yeah.
So, yeah, so actually speaking, so then when I go to Satara, like it's a really nice thing because the first thing they know that I'm really hungry. So I sit down, I have lunch with everybody, and that's like a really special thing always. If not, this is like a normal thing with everybody, right? If I'm going in Assam, if I go to say Kolhapur, the first thing the farmers do is always they feed you, and then that's like the biggest treat. I mean, in fact, that's like it's so special because that's when we have these conversations about grains. They'll be like, we grew this grain and this is from our village, this is the traditional knowledge, all those things. So then I also assimilate that, okay, actually we can revive this grain and then use this for selling, So those conversations happen over meals. And then after that, then they take us for field visits. So then we go to the farm, and then I check out the product. We see, make sure that the techniques of natural farming are being followed, all those things. And then if I have to continue seeing that, I say that, but otherwise I usually come back by the night bus itself. So then that makes me reach by, say, in the morning, or I have to take a break in Pune. That
Oh my
depends. And
God. That is one hectic work day. And I
yeah,
thought
but
chefs have it bad.
no, but Assam is very, very interesting to travel to. So each time I go to Assam, it's like we buy a lot of heirloom rice varieties, like
I know your
Jowar
black
rice.
rice is there, and that
Yes,
I know you
yes.
source from Assam, and you got the Kaji Nimu also from Assam, and
Yes, yes, yes. The Kaji Numbu is from that same village. So it's very nice because each time, so this is like from Guwahati airport. Usually we go directly we go directly to the farm. So we go to the farm, and then of course, we have a nice meal, all of that. And then following that, then all the villagers, they come together, at Rabhaji's house. So we go to Gwalpada, usually. And it's very nice because all the villagers, they come together. And now we are forming an FPO, Farmer Producer Organization,
oh wow,
because the work has scaled up, right? There are more farmers. So each one of them, suppose we start with 2 farmers, right? Then we give them a market every month on month, which increases the income. So that income, because farmers are entrepreneurs as well at the end,
of course.
that income which they get, they plow back into that group, or they buy a warehouse. I mean, they set a warehouse in place, they buy a processing machine, a tractor, or things like that,
That is
depends on each group. Yeah.
so.
Sorry?
Where does is it that income they use to invest more in their business, or
Yes,
okay?
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's more like we are giving them a working capital, and we
Yeah.
are giving them month on month income based. We're giving a fixed income every month, right? Almost, it's almost like that. So, and we give it on time. So that way they are able to pay their debts, they're able to pay different people. And it's very important to pay farmers on time, because otherwise, the whole supply chain gets completely it goes up and down. Becomes erratic.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, it's very important to do that. And Desai ji is another farmer I really want to talk about. He's in Kolhapur district. So we buy different varieties of grains. We buy jaggery powder, turmeric, so many things we buy from them.
So the
And
jaggery powder which we buy from you comes from them?
yes,
Okay,
yes,
awesome.
yes, yes. The sachets, the 5 gram
Yeah,
sachets. Yes.
yeah.
So it's very interesting. He grows sugarcane with turmeric on the same field. Now in natural farming, it's multi-cropping is very important, right?
Yeah.
So it's in fact, FAO has even done a case study on this. It's very interesting. He grows moong dal, wheat, millets and turmeric in between the sugarcane. And in between each sugarcane stalk, he leaves a distance of 9 feet. And he's one of the only farms around in that area which uses very little water. And in fact, he's even renamed his technique of farming called sun farming. Very innovative, fantastic work, And that is a real success story of climate resilient agriculture.
That is amazing. These are the kind of anecdotes which we do not get to hear, which happen behind
Yeah.
the scenes. And by the time you get things from a mandi, there is no story, and
Exactly.
that is a little
Yeah.
disappointing. Talking about disappointing, how has COVID affected these farmers, these tribes, these small scale growers? Can you give us a little bit of insight? And what
So,
do we have to do to bring back our food system and secure it?
yes. So I think, like, more than us, restaurateurs were really, really affected. So I'm sorry about that. Yes. But I think, like, one of the main big issues we've had is with logistics, because a lot of the villages have been in lockdown. So all the farmer sources which we've had, and we've had like really good supply chains, which we worked really hard for 3 to 4 years to set them in place. And suddenly everything was disrupted, right?
Yeah.
So, and we also landed up with a lot of stock. And since our main income before COVID came from restaurants. So overnight restaurants shut. So we, for Taru, we had to build an entire B2C vertical from scratch. So now we are doing e-commerce home delivery. We were doing it before also, but now we are doing e-commerce home deliveries all across India. And we've also launched on Amazon. We've launched all on a lot of e-commerce websites. We're doing society deliveries. So yeah, in the start, 1 month it was very tough, but now we've become very like home friendly, senior citizen friendly, child friendly. Yeah, so B2C is our focus now. And I think like somewhere it's really nice that COVID happened because nature needed that regeneration. And I can actually feel it, somewhere because if we are really connected to nature, you can feel, I could actually feel nature healing in the first month,
Yes.
it was very beautiful. But in terms of farmer, logistics was a big issue. But now we've figured it out. Like, we've started collaborating with a lot of people, and we're clubbing different trucks which are coming in. So so now our supply chain is back to normal. Yeah.
That is so good to know. Ruchi, I
Yes.
do know. Okay, so there is one question. Someone asking what you think of urban farming. What do you think is the future of urban farming? And also, I want to personally know what do you think of um, urban farmers and how do we get our generation or maybe the generation below us actually interested in farming?
Yes. So one of the things about urban farming is you can start very small. The first thing you should keep in mind is the seeds. Now, indigenous seeds are worth protecting because in the market these days, even with fruits, vegetables, grains, everything hybrid is coming into place. So you should definitely ask your vendor that is this an indigenous tomato? Is this an indigenous, banana, indigenous everything, right? You will be surprised how much of the stuff is imported these days in terms of grains and fruits and vegetables. And if we as consumers don't ask those questions, then we won't get the right produce, right? So
Definitely.
even if it's a hybrid seed or an indigenous seed, make sure that you save it because at the end, the seed is just like a baby, right? So save it, put it in the soil, or use it to make compost. Composting is something everybody should do at home. It's very important, and it doesn't require too much. I'll send you. I'll show probably as Radhika. I'll send you something later. You can just post it on. Can make a post on composting,
I will,
and
and I
then
will share it with my class as well because I'm sure everyone will be
exactly,
very
yeah.
interested to know. Yeah.
And bioenzyme, you can make bioenzyme, so we can do a small session about later, but bioenzyme, composting, indigenous seeds, uh, that's not urban farming, that's a lifestyle, that's part of your lifestyle. So once you at least start doing these small things, then you will realize that you want to grow something at home, right?
Yes.
These are very basic things, which we've done this as children. So, like basically everybody should do this. It's so important for the environment. Yeah. So
What
yes, go
what
ahead.
about what about how do we get people from a generation below us to get interested in farming? How do we make farming
Yes.
appealing to see? I know that a kitchen was never appealing till two generations back, and
Yes.
now chefs are supposed to be like glamorous and so are bartenders, etc. So, will do you think that day is gonna come for farmers?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges we are facing these days is that none of the farmers, young kids, not none, many of them, right? They don't want to do farming anymore. It's not aspirational. So many times when I go to the farmers and I stay with the children and they're like, why are you doing this? Why don't you do something else in life? So, and in fact, it's been quite a challenge to explain to people that, okay, I'm doing farming business, and then now that organic is picking up, that a lot of people see value in it. But I think if we put that entire business model in place for farmers and make like an FPO, make it a proper company with a brand, and put an aspirational value to the brand, I think any of the farmers and the kids, the young generation, will want to do farming because there's income in it. Uh,
Yes.
let's not assume that farmers don't have needs, right? They have so many debts to pay. Even they have. There's so many जो खर्चे होते हैं गांव में बहुत सारे होते हैं at the village level. There are so many things you have to pay for. You have to pay for the land, the water pond, all those things. Right? Probably at the village, at the city level, we have different things,
Yeah.
different aspirations. But that's one. And when you see, and it's a very erratic, it's an erratic lifestyle at the end of it. So that's why the young children don't want to follow in the footsteps of farming many times. So if we mentor farmers as a step-by-step process, then the children will want to do farming. And as for people like you and me in urban areas, I think agriculture is the future for food startups. Like, I see a huge boom, especially post-COVID, like during COVID. I think every day we receive at least one new call from a young enterprise who wants to start. So that gives me a lot of hope. But you might want to start off something, but they all want to start without research, right?
Yeah.
So they'll expect me to answer all the questions. And I'm like, go do your research and then come back to me after 2 months.
Unfortunately, I would say that it is the headline era. Everyone knows a little bit of everything, and
Exactly.
that is a problem.
Yes, but you have to get your hands dirty, right?
Yes.
It's so important to get into detail of things. Only then you will be successful. So start a food startup, start an agriculture startup, but make sure you do research. Make sure you get your hands dirty and get into it.
Yeah.
That's the only way. It has to be passion based because otherwise it's quite challenging.
Yes.
Yes,
I think till the time you don't love what you do, it's not going to work anyway. So
exactly.
we
Yes,
have one
that's
more
it.
question in the questions thing. What do you feel about hydroponics? And there's one more. How do you protect seeds for a while?
Yes, so hydroponics is great if you want to grow, salad leaves at home as well. But I feel like, all these hydroponic startups which are coming up, it's good to a certain point. I think if they actually put their efforts in empowering farmers living at the, brink where the city is. Uh,
Yeah.
if you can put so much effort in setting up put up a hydroponic farm inside the city, why don't you also why don't you also collaborate with farmers and do contract farming, for example, or collaborate with existing farmer groups which live in the periphery of the city. So that's what my feedback would be for hydroponics. You can do this at home, little bit, it's great, but for hydroponic startups, I think it's really worth it because it's a great cash. It's really well paying, but farmers also need their cut at the end.
I think
So
that's
that's
an
one thing.
amazing politically correct
Yes.
answer. I personally am not a fan of hydroponics, but I do think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like there is enough soil nutrition in our country and especially in rural areas where we don't need hydroponics, and we
Exactly.
should be supporting our small scale farmers.
Yeah. And also, the best part is like we want to eat kale, but like we don't look at, say, indigenous dandelion or so that's what I meant by research. Yeah, exactly. Or amaranth leaves, right? You name it something glamorous and then you forget that actually it's selling in the sabji mandi.
Lal saag.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you call it porcelain, but
it's on my
Sorry?
menu. It's on my menu. Amaranth always been on my menu during the season, and we never call it lal saag till the time but people don't want to hear it, and that's okay. You can glamorize names, etc., as long as you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. At least nutrition will go in the mouth.
Exactly. And what do you think of this question? How do you protect seeds for a while?
See, indigenous seeds, right? So one of the things I do is, and each one of you should start this at home. Start a seed bank at home. It's fabulous to start a seed bank at home. So my mentor, Dr. Prabhakar Rao, he's from the Shri Shri Agriculture Trust. So I spent like 6 months there learning agriculture.
Wow.
So one of the best takeaways out of my entire learning was how to actually process seeds and make a seed bank. So you don't need anything. If you're a novice, just take a small sort of a box, start saving say tomato seeds, right? Take like a plastic bottle, name tomato seeds on it. And the way to process tomato seeds is that you soak it in water, remove the skin of it, and then the hollow seeds come up and the good seeds go down. So basically, you leave it for one day, and then you remove the seeds. You sort of sieve it with a cloth bag, cloth, and then you dry it in shade. So this applies for say brinjal or capsicum chili. You can apply this for everything. This entire method, and yeah, and then you just start saving seeds. You make like small shishis, bottles of say tomato seeds and brinjal seeds or chili seeds. And even if it's hybrid vegetables, it doesn't matter. At least you'll get into the habit of making an indigenous, seed bank. And
That is
trust
such
me,
an amazing piece of advice. I cannot wait to follow this. And in fact, I'm going to make a small note of it so I can keep reminding myself and everyone else who thinks I'm a Gyani to keep and keep saying this over and over again.
yeah,
Elizabeth is here and she's asking, is this the same Dr. Rao
yes,
from
yes, yes,
Bengali?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So
And like if you actually use say cloth, pots, clay pots. If you store seeds in clay pots, it's best. So my sister Rashi Jain, she runs Studio Karwa and she does ceramics, right? So I asked her to make like jars of ceramic, and I've started storing seeds in ceramic jars. So that also really helps in the preservation. And then you can take the seeds and you can put it in cow urine. Just dip it in cow urine, dry it, and then store it. So that is wonderful for the seed, in terms of preservation. So
that is
desi cow urine,
amazing.
cow dung is, yeah.
I think one can start a small seed exchange within a city if everyone starts
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah. So one of the things I've really learned from a lot of farmers I've spent time with, and I think farmers are the best people to actually pick up information, especially my agriculture knowledge comes from them, is there is a voluntary exchange network of seeds across India. So you know how there are shops as well for hybrid seeds, but they have seed exchange stories. So like Rabhaji's community in Assam, they give say 1 kilo of rice and they expect say 10 times of the seeds in return for that 1 kilo of seeds, right? Or in some areas, it's like harvest in exchange of the seeds. So every part of the country has its seed stories. Like in Chhattisgarh, the way they actually store their seeds is that they have like a kund. They have like a mud shaped structure, and they put cow dung and cow urine and lime inside, and then they put all their seeds inside. So
Wow.
it really preserves for the long term,
Yeah.
And then after that also they put like cow urine, cow dung, lime on top with treated other herbs they put
So it's
with
a very,
lime.
very natural process, I would say.
Yes.
It's and that like for us urban people who just come in contact with farmers when it comes for a supply, it is eye-opening. Thank you so much for that. I also know that you have a forest garden of
Food
sorts.
forest, yes. I'm going to quickly introduce my mother, Dr. Poonam Jain. She's a naturopath. So she's going to show you around, the food forest because she's the one who's actually, painstakingly grown everything and she grows all the herbs at home. So we've never had any antibiotics. She like makes kadas, the traditional style. So yeah,
That is amazing. I did read about her.
yeah.
Hello,
She's
ma'am.
also
Hi.
co-founder. Yes. So okay.
Yeah, so
I'm good.
perhaps we quickly start with the first
This is a guava tree. First, you want to go?
Yeah. So
Can you
what?
see?
So
Yes.
see, we have what we've done is the voice coming?
Yeah. Can you hear her?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can hear. Acha. So we just let things grow. So now, that there is a lot of this giloy which we are supposed to be consuming these days.
Yes.
You know that it's all growing around, and then there
See,
is
this is below. Can you see? It's become a thick stick now.
That is amazing. Yes.
And then this
then
below
there
is,
is pan growing on that.
yeah. So this
Pan leaves.
is pan. Can you
So
see?
this
Yeah.
is a
Wow.
special nard pan.
Yeah.
So what I do is now this is the adusa basa now we show.
Yeah.
Huh.
This is the adusa.
So they've always had for cough, never any cough syrup. So adusa pan and that giloy, that's just enough for a medicine. Yeah. So along with some haldi and all. So this is there. Then there is one black nilgundi growing here. Nilgundi leaves also. They are excellent. Now the thing is, what the way I let it grow is because it purifies the air. The urban food forest really makes sense because the urban air, air is polluted. But we have we have our own protection. So it's not only doing that, it keeps away. I don't do pest control. It keeps away. It's like an integrated pest management, and there are snakes and all. And the whole system, is a self-sufficient system. But of course, we use enzymes, cow urine, etc. We do our composting.
Yeah.
And
And then some of the other things is this is pandan leaf.
Oh wow, I love that.
Yeah.
We do
so
a
yes,
few
this one,
things
and
with
it smells
pandan
like
leaves.
cardamom. So there are small, beautiful flowers come on it. They are also edible.
Yes.
And see, like this is the hibiscus leaves. Hibiscus is
We
good.
have
So
hibiscus as
it's
well.
lovely for hair, like
Yeah.
to make a natural.
Can we have an avocado tree as well?
So that avocados grown above. Now we have another food forest in my elder daughter's studio. That also in the studio also has a. So this is a Lakshmi Taru.
We have a
So we
Lakshmi
have
tree.
a lot of them outside also.
Yeah.
So basically this one, see this.
This
This
is a
is
Lakshmi taru plant.
so this is see avocado.
This is an avocado.
Many avocados we just throw the seed, and avocado is very hardy. I don't know why farmers should produce
So
more.
why does avocado have such a bad reputation as far as sustainability is concerned?
Oh, it's because of the supply chain and also a lot of unethical practices around avocado, especially in South America. In fact, there's a very nice documentary you should watch on Netflix, Rotten. So it has a lot of unethical practices with water. But I would say any crop grown, especially in terms of agroforestry and natural farming practices, with the right ethical, the right ethical terms, making sure natural resource management is followed. If we follow that, then any crop with multi-cropping, mulching, indigenous seeds is a good idea, especially if it's indigenous, it's cross-pollinated, open-pollinated. So we have to keep all those things in mind. And what we have done with avocado is just whatever. If we eat an avocado in the kitchen, as I mentioned to you earlier, right? We've just taken the seed and put it in the mud, and it's grown by itself. So
Amazing.
Pineapple, it's growing outside.
Yeah.
There's a nice pineapple coming in that.
Yeah.
And then there is this, this thing you make chutney out of it. This one. So I'm just forgetting the name. It's growing like a forest around. So even when we were not buying our greens, we had this to make chutney.
So we make a chutney.
job.
Then that's a moringa tree. Sorry, you can't really see the leaves from here, but
They've gone top.
yeah, this is a moringa tree, and again, Moringa tree is great for
The leaves,
yeah,
the leaves are
the leaves. You can make a chutney.
Put it up in chapati.
We work
Yeah.
a lot with moringa. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's great. So just one second.
And then this Lakshmi Taru, it's very good. Like we call it the cancer cure tree, and we
It's
put
called
it
the
in our
Lakshmi
kadas
Taru.
every day. We make a kada every day
Yeah.
for immunity,
Yes.
and we put it in there. So now this another thing I wanted to show. See, like for example, this is jamun. So
Jamun.
like people would ask, what's a jamun doing in a pot? But the jamun leaf is also very good. It has many uses. Like if don't have a diabetic, but if there's a diabetic. So the thing to do is that if you grow your tall trees in pots, they'll remain small, but you use it. That's it.
Yes. So now I'm just going to take you to the front of my house. There we have like a lot of trees. Perfectly. Yeah.
This is
Just 1 second.
full on
Just one
urban food forest, huh?
Yes.
It's insane.
Just 1 second. Okay. Now
I think the connection is a little weak.
we'll have to get the internet.
Yeah, we are back.
You're back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a mulberry. So this is neem. Can you see?
Yes.
Neem tree. Yeah. So we have a neem tree here. Then
This is another avocado.
yeah, there's another avocado which has come up.
And then the floor,
Look at the floor. See, the floor is mulched properly.
so we just leave it like,
Yeah.
That's
and then
amazing.
we don't need to put anything.
Yeah. There's no snake, right? Yeah. Okay. So yesterday we saw a snake, so that's it. See, look at this. This is allspice leaves. You know what's allspice leaves, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a bay leaf there.
The only allspice we usually use here is a powder.
Exactly. Yeah. Then we have a bay leaf tree as well, and we have an avla. You know what is avla, right?
Small.
The small indigenous one. Yeah.
There's a big tree there.
There's a big tree of avla.
We have this one. A lot of haldi growing around. We have haldi
Turmeric.
and not
Turmeric. We have a lot of turmeric. Yeah.
Is
And
it
then,
is it hard to harvest the haldi when it's growing in a pot, or how does that work?
No, you can at the right time. It's sort of comes up, and you harvest it and you put it back in again. Yeah, some.
Okay.
So this is that insulin leaves they call it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's very nice. It's khatta. You can put it in chutneys. Has many
It's
other
great for
uses.
salads. You can try it.
And yeah, this one.
It's
I
called
will.
Costus avocado.
It's a costus family,
Yeah.
but it's called insulin leaves. But it's got many other benefits, including vitamin C.
Then there is also this one.
No, that hemp. That is there is one.
Okay.
Even
Can't
that
talk
there
about
are
it.
some hemp.
Yeah.
No, it's just more wild. Like,
Yeah.
No,
Then
what
we
I
have a
mean,
mango tree. We have a mango tree.
Oh, wow.
Can you see?
then there is Nilgundi there.
I did not even realize that it is possible to have like a food forest in such an urban surrounding.
Yeah, we have a mango tree and we have a supari tree next to it. So that's a really good, integrated. And then I'll just show you the avla. See, this is the avla tree. So we sort
Yeah.
of harvest the fruits every year, and we make pickles, and we every morning on empty stomach we have juices.
My mother used to be a huge advocate of that.
Avla, no? Yeah, it's really good for the hair. Yeah, vitamin C. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is fresh giloy. This is something it's really great, like especially for your menus and stuff.
I
It's really
have some
good.
dried giloy still in the
Yeah.
drawer because this is amazing though. I've never seen it this young.
This is very
Yeah.
tender,
Yeah.
and it just grows. If you let it grow, it will grow wild. Many shoots. They're excellent for salads for restaurant people, like,
Yeah.
chop it up. It's pretty tender.
I'm going to
Yes, and
put
it's
this in my.
bitter.
It's
Yes,
not really
yes.
bitter. This is, of course, another like.
Mulberry is this. This is mulberry. Can you see the leaf?
Yes. We missed out on mulberry season this year, unfortunately.
Okay.
There's this is mulberry here.
Oh yeah, we have one mulberry here.
So we have some growing like.
Yeah, we still have. See, can
Oh.
This is the wild variety grows the year
Yeah.
round practically.
see. It's a wild variety, so yeah, it grows practically yes around the year.
I think
So,
all
yeah.
of us have some childhood memories associated with mulberry.
Absolutely, you're right. Yeah. And then last I'll show you one pineapple which is coming. We just took the pineapple from the the market one and just grew it. It grew by itself.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So you see what you can do. You can create magic with market produce as well. You don't necessarily have to.
There's another thing, this makoy leaf. So they sell in the south as bhaji, but it's a
Makoy.
wild, no? It's a wild plant. With those small round fruit they put in sambar also.
It's called makoy.
So this is another thing to explore, wild herbs,
Yeah.
like she spoke about amaranth, no? Wild amaranth and wild
Wow.
peanut bhaji. So
Badam.
So, wild badam, yeah. Yeah, there's outside, there's a wild badam tree. So that made amazing fruit, the fruit when it came. It's very less, the tribals use it, but the urban people forget it's growing around everywhere in their society, but they forget how to use it.
So basically, there is food everywhere. We just don't see it.
Yeah, and
Yes.
imli, like imli in pots, and the leaves make excellent chutney. In South India, we have imli leaf chutney, and it's a very good sprinkle in the salad. So again, you needn't have it as a tree; you can grow it in pots.
That is
So
amazing.
yeah, and this nirgundi, which is interspersed,
Yeah.
both back and here, it keeps away a lot of mosquitoes and harmful. It also absorbs pollution.
Yeah, Nirgundi is very good.
Yeah.
That's something you can grow at home.
And we use it a lot otherwise for strains and fevers and things. But basically, for the air, as an urban forest, there are certain trees which should be encouraged.
Natural pest control as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is what.
Ruchi, I will bother you for a list of trees you think should be part of
One
our
last
urban
thing.
food forest.
Yes.
One
please.
last thing, good
One
idea
last- yeah.
to grow banyan and people in pots,
Banyan and people in pots.
because it's one of the most amazing, oxygen and this thing. Again, air purifier.
Especially
Yeah.
in cities like Delhi and Mumbai, this would be a
Yes.
it would be a boon.
And actually, what happens, you can, people leaves are used medicinally, even for certain colors, external use, and banyan leaves, if you get a sprain or something, you have any problem, swelling, cut. So you can use it for tying around.
Okay,
There are many uses to them too.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
was very, very, very insightful. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. There is, however, one last question I want to ask you, and
Sure.
which is, what do you imagine the food future of this planet to be?
So I think the food future of this planet. So I think one of the main things we need to do is we need to move all our small scale farmers to agroforestry because especially from the climate change perspective, if you're looking at carbon stocks and carbon sequestration, trees are the only way to go to sequester carbon from the atmosphere.
Yes.
And I imagine that each and every person, especially with our urban farming, anybody across the world, we have to grow trees, right? So we have to grow trees in our backyard, in our farms, in our, across the world. because at the rate we are actually losing our forests, we need to not only conserve our old ancient forests, our ancient trees, but we need to also grow back our forests, and our forests could be like, food forests. It can be our indigenous trees, not eucalyptus. um, because many times, you go to, say, a nursery, and the only
That's
thing
the
you'll
first
find
thing.
is eucalyptus.
And
Yes.
that's the first thing
And
they'll
even
try to palm off to you.
exactly, and the plantations as well, like they think that, eucalyptus is really good plantation wise, but no, a food actually, uh, a real forest is with indigenous trees from that particular place, right? That
Yes.
particular region. So I think the future of food is to grow even our vegetables on trees, because wild brinjal is from a tree at the end. Manipur has tree tomatoes still.
Yes,
Uh,
and I'm just dying to get my hands on them.
exactly. So the future of our food is going back to trees itself. That's why taru, because the heart of everything at the end is the soul of the forest.
Yeah.
So very, very important. That's our future. Uh, to live with the forest, our connection, and even any initiative we have to, have nature as part of the soul first. So that's what is the forest and the future.
Thank you so much, Ruchi. That is really
Yeah.
food for thought. And I'm sure that our audience really, really enjoyed hearing you out.
Thank
And
you. Yeah.
I'm going to be uploading this video as well so that other people can view it. And I will upload it, of course, for my
Yeah,
class
same.
to view it. Um,
Yes.
so thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, of
Thank you
course.
so
And thank you
much
so much
for
for the
inviting
brilliant
me.
work that you do.
And you as well. You are doing such amazing, inspirational work. I keep seeing your posts about peels, how to use it. And it's very unconventional and very innovative, ingredient based. Your cooking. I've seen your restaurant, and you put so much heart and love in it,
Thank you. I
I-
feel like maybe somewhere chefs can be a link to a secure food
You
future,
are
and I
doing a
want to learn
lot already.
more.
Yes. You're doing a lot already, and you are yourself are such an inspiration. I mean, when I talk about the chef community, everybody knows that you're doing such fantastic work.
Thank
So,
you
yeah.
so much. That is very motivational to know, and I will keep doing it.
No, thank you. Thank you for all and supporting me and supporting people like us, because, where would we be if we didn't get support from all of you?
Thank you, Ruchi. No, we wouldn't
Thank
have
you.
anything to serve if we didn't have you. So,
Yes. So it is mutually we support each other.
yes.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, Ruchi.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. That was Ruchi of Taru Naturals, and we had such a great conversation. I will leave this conversation in my IGTV so that you can all follow her and see her. However, people across India, you can buy from her. Tarunaturals.com is the website to go to. And do give it a shout out. Thank you.